Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I want to be very mindful of time and we have a very tight agenda. But it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 CAMEO Advocacy Day, Prime for an Equitable Recovery. My name is Jesse Torres, and I'm really proud to serve as the chair of the board for CAMEO. And I'm also the proud owner of my own micro enterprise, ArroyoWest LLC. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And thank you very much to the CAMEO team for all the hard work and making today possible. Heidi said, say a few words and share some quick thoughts. And so I just want to say, just how optimistic I am, of what's to come. I just came back from my first business trip since February 2020, and that in itself was, I think, a milestone for me, and I think for a lot of people, finally getting out and about and interacting with people in person. So I'm really hopeful of what's to come. I think there's been just such unprecedented small business relief at the local, state, and federal level. And I think that's going to continue because we have some great people in really key positions. You're going to hear from a few of them today, operating at the federal, state, and also the local level. And also we just have some really great important legislation that's moving forward that I know Heidi will dig into. But today is all about optimism. It's all about the success to come. And I just want to give a big thanks to all of you who I know have been working really hard behind the scenes, for a really long time during some very difficult times. So just want to say thank you for joining us. I know taking time out of your busy schedule can be really difficult. So let me just do a quick review of today's morning agenda. We're going to dive right in with Mark Madrid, who's the Associate Administrator for the U.S. Small Business Administration, Office of Entrepreneurial Development. And then we're going to bring on our fearless CEO of CAMEO, Carolina Martinez, and pivot to state issues, and also have a conversation with Lynn Gray, who's the new director of the Office of Small Business Advocate for the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. And then our very own Heidi Pickman, CAMEO's VP of Policy and Programs, will then join us to let you know how the rest of the day will work from 11:30 on. So let me go ahead and dive right into introducing Mark Madrid, who is a big fan and friend to California, serving as the Associate Administrator for the Office of Entrepreneurial Development for the U.S. Small Business Administration. For those who aren't familiar with OED, and I'm very familiar as I used to be a regional director for the SBDC program, but that's a critical office. They oversee more than 1 million small businesses annually through their programs, operating some major technical assistance programs like the SBDC's Women's Business Centers, SCORE, Office of Native American Affairs, the innovation programs that they offer, like Ascent and the Online Learning Center. They're also the lead agency on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And, you probably have all heard recently of the new Community Navigator Program that Mark is overseeing, and he'll be sharing some information about that. I've had the pleasure to know Mark for several years now, and I knew him best through his work with Latino Business Action Network, part of the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative, which was doing critical work around helping to understand the state of Hispanic business and the nuance of engaging with that community, which is work that's near and dear to my heart. So I just want to say, there's so much more I can share as far as his background. Graduate University of Notre Dame, and his work there with Stanford is really kind of critical. But maybe I'll leave it at that, Marks. And if there's anything I missed as far as your bio, but I'm just really so happy that you had to have you with us and sharing some of your insights and some of the great work that SBA is doing. And please do give our very best to Isabel, also a California native. But with that, let me turn it over to you.
We're not going to fundraise. That's not what we do. So sometimes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, CAMEO. Thank you, Jesse, for that warm introduction. And thank you, Carolina, and Heidi and team and the board for this opportunity to be here. And on behalf of Administrator Isabel Guzman and our thousands of employees at the Small Business Administration across the country in Puerto Rico, thank you for your efforts. They truly are meaningful. They're timely. They're critical. And yes, optimistic. We love that. Thank you, Jesse, for that optimism. And the reason I say that is because you all are connected on the ground. So I hope you feel the energy that I'm delivering, because although times are challenging, I can't think of a more honorable position than to serve small business owners across the United States and Puerto Rico. I love what you say about this session. It says, join us as we advocate for a strong ecosystem that ensures the success of our businesses that have suffered the most. And I'm excited to be here, especially back in California, even though it's virtually. I was there for 4 years and I fell in love with California, and I will never forget my time there. Thanks to all of you who I had the pleasure to get to know, and the collaboration that keeps building. And I'm also honored to be in the lineup with Lynn Gray, the director for the Office of Small Business Advocate in the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. I can tell you that this pandemic and the period surrounding it, you know, I want to just emit empathy to all of you, and in some respects, sympathy on what you've persisted through. I myself, I lost my dad to COVID-19 and almost lost my mom. My sister was positive back in, wow, it's you know, almost this time a year ago. I just realized that when things really went south, and I almost lost both parents at the same time. Luckily, my mom survived, but my dad didn't. He was the strongest man person that I ever knew. My dad built his business from the ground up, you know, migrated from the cotton fields and drew on napkins, blueprints, and became the go-to welder in the Texas Panhandle. In fact, if you ever drive through the Texas Panhandle, through the farming communities there, bordering New Mexico and Oklahoma, you'll see these erect structures that are still there, built by my father. I thought he would never die, honestly. And COVID, he fell victim to that. But what he had, the doctors still reflect on this. Even in that area of the country, they said his will to live was unprecedented. And so was his business. The will to survive was unprecedented. But you know what? Going through the death of my father and you know, being in charge of family affairs, my dad did not have a succession plan. He did not have access to resources and capital. And so that's what we're trying to do here at the SBA. And on behalf of Administrator Guzman, the team here, we're unrelenting. We're dedicated to the 30 million small businesses and innovative startups that are out there. And we want to make sure that we're embodying a customer-centric SBA that's technology-driven, that's advancing equity. And I know that equity is very, very important to you all. And I'm lucky to be part of an administration that has made equity a top priority. That's the bottom line. Among his first actions in office, President Biden, as you well know, signed an executive order that launched an ambitious whole of government racial equity agenda. And you know it, you're on the ground. Businesses of color have suffered, and they need us the most. They've been disproportionately affected as business owners and individuals with the pandemic. And what are we doing about it? We're designing and implementing our programs to make them accessible to all entrepreneurs. Because the truth is that our nation is stronger when we all have access to opportunities. I've always said that diversity is America's greatest economic development asset. And just rewinding in terms of the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, it became a word in our vocabulary. The majority of small business owners, businesses owned by people of color and women, those folks were secured PPP at higher levels in 2021. And so did small businesses, the smallest of the small. In fact, 96% of PPP loans and the 2021 draw went to small businesses with 20 employees or less, where we could reach more diverse businesses, those owned by women and people of color and veterans. As you know, we recently rolled out our $28.6 billion restaurant revitalization program. And I'd like to know in the chat if you all have experience with somebody who was approved for a restaurant revitalization fund. More than 1/3 of the 362,000 applications came from our smallest businesses, and more than half came from women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals who were given priority access to the program by Congress in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And this is just the beginning. We need to do much, much more. And so you might have heard that, and thanks Jesse for that intro, but the Office of Entrepreneurial Development, where I serve as Associate Administrator, has rolled out the Community Navigator pilot as part of the American Rescue Plan. And what that is, it's a $100 million granting opportunity for eligible entities. I can go into that in a little bit, but the premise of this is to leverage a community navigator model, and I'll get to that here in a second, in order to reach small businesses that have either not accessed the SBA or under access or under leverage the resources and programs of the Small Business Administration. We're talking the smallest of the small. We're talking about rural and urban small business owners. We're talking about those owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, veterans, women's, tribe. And so what we're doing is we're leveraging a hub and spoke model, meaning that we are counting on a potential grantee being a hub and leveraging spokes. And all that means is leveraging community champions, those that are connected and meet small businesses where they are. If you know of a spoke and can think of it right now, please chat it away. I'm going to give you an example about how a hub and spoke model works. You've probably heard about the Promotora network in terms of training the trainer and folks getting out and making sure that a service or program is delivered in a culturally relevant way, in a culturally competent way. When it comes to small business, we've seen scores of examples on the ground that met small businesses where they were. I think of examples in El Paso, Texas, where the Women's Border Center was rolling down carts with plexiglass, reaching small business owners with mobile printers and scanners. Do you know how to access the PPP program? Can we help you? We have broadband access. And literally, they were going from business to business to business. We saw that with the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. We saw it in so many examples. And I can tell you, how can I talk about this and lead this effort? It's because I was part of a navigator project of my own with a dedicated team. Although we didn't call it community navigators, that's exactly what it was. And I'll explain that now. In my former position as CEO of the Latino Business Action Network, think about 15 months ago when the pandemic broke. We made a decision as a small team, because we only had a small team. I know you can relate to that, some of you, right? Doing a lot. I say we had a team of 3 doing the work of 10. And we decided that we were going to go into the period of the pandemic, and we were going to keep it real. We were going to coalesce our small business clusters, those that were part of our Stanford Scaling Program alumni base. And we thought, you know what? We're going to leverage this alumni portal that we've built. We're going to deliver real-time information. We don't know what's ahead of us. It was back in March of 2020, and we made that commitment. And what we were doing was being community navigators. So when the PPP broke, the first draw in 2020, we were literally delivering real-time sessions to that group with the alumni portal. And they knew that the small business owners knew that we were going to get to them on a real-time basis. They knew that we were going to send the recording within 5 or 10 minutes of the conclusion of the recording. They knew we were always going to have a CDFI on the call. In fact, a president of a CDFI was a graduate of the scaling program. So we had a real-time support system. And I'll tell you why that was important, is because we funded a research study that you're probably familiar with, the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative, issued a report, a brief called The Impact of COVID-19 on Latino-owned businesses. And that report says Latinos were approved at half the rate of as white-owned businesses in the PPP draw of 2020. There was one notable exception: the graduates of the Stanford Latino Scaling Program. 82% secured PPP funding in 2020 first draw. Think about that. I haven't heard of a percentage higher than that one, but it was hard work. But what were we doing? We were being navigators. And so that is the nexus of this program and this granting opportunity that is for not only our resource partners at the SBA And shout out to any SBDCs that are here with us, or women's business owners or SCORE chapters. Thank you so much for your unrelenting work on the ground. It's an honor to be working with you. Also to the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. So those folks are eligible for this grantee program, but also nonprofit organizations, tribes, state and local governments, regional economic development entities. And it's just a mouthful, but I want to personally invite you to an information session that we're having. You might have been a part of some already for this Community Navigator pilot that is happening this Friday. Here in the second one, I close, and I'll be on for a couple of questions. I'll make sure that I multitask here and make sure that you have the Eventbrite link for that information session. But what I can tell you is some information about that granting opportunity. It's distributed in terms of 3 tiers. One is a national tier, and those are $5 million awards. Tier 2 is a state and regional tier, and those awards are $2.5 million. And then we have a Tier 3, which is a local / rural tier, and those awards are $1 million. And so we are looking to make sure that we address the priority groups per the legislation of the American Rescue Plan under Community Navigator Pilot, which is we're prioritizing our efforts with those businesses both in rural and urban America that are owned by economically disadvantaged individuals, veterans, and women. And so we're excited about this day at OED at the SBA. We stand committed to President Biden, Vice President Harris, and the strong and bold leadership that you all know so well from our Administrator Guzman. And so it's an honor to be with you. You'll also be seeing more about our targeted advance with EIDL. And I just want to talk about the EIDL loan as well, with recent enhancements in 2021, with the EIDL loan cap being raised to $500,000. So these are all in our suite. Of course, you probably know about our micro businesses, our micro loans that are here, also certification procurement. And I can tell you that we have a commitment not to work in silos, but to work together. I can tell you that I am working unrelenting with our field operations, with government contract and business development, with our Office of Innovation and others, to ensure that we are meeting businesses where they are, and that we take the order from Administrator Guzman and to reach small businesses when they need us the most. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to make sure that I get over to that Eventbrite invitation for the information session Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for the Community Navigator Pilot. And once again, CAMEO, it's an honor to be with you. I hope I can join you again. And Administrator Guzman sends her best regards to all of you, family in California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We're so privileged and proud to have you join us today. And in your position, you're doing some incredible work. We're sending you our big love to you and the team. Just please know that you definitely have friends here in California anytime you need us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carolina to take us to the next part of our agenda. But before I do that, I want to say a big thank you to Anne and Elizabeth and Eliza, part of the MSGI team, for all their great work, hard work in coordinating speakers and just doing tremendous efforts for us there in Washington, D.C. with all of our elected officials. And then I've seen a note here from Heidi. Any questions? I guess we do have a little bit of time, Mark, and if you're still available to hang out for a little bit. Are there any questions for Mark?
I have one a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. First of all, Mark, when you were saying everything that you did, it just sounds like you totally understand, and you're one of ours. So we're excited to have someone that understands the ecosystem in your position. It's really great. And he just posted the link to the info session. Can you just for this grant, I know people are interested in the Community Navigator Program because it's coming up. Explain the spoke and hub pieces a little bit better, like who can be a spoke, who can be a hub, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So this whole system is we're evaluating and implementing this off of a hub and spoke model. So the grantees for our Community Navigator pilot are the hubs. So think of a hub as an administrative wheel that can also render direct services to a populace. Let's put an example that I think would apply in small businesses. I'm not going to say that these folks would apply, but let's say there is a national chamber of commerce as a hub, right? So they have the wherewithal as an umbrella organization to have economies of scale, marketing throttle, et cetera, and reach. Let's say that X national chamber was a recipient of a grant. Then what they would do, and they would work this up in a proposal, is that they would, in consortia agreements, partner with spokes. And this could be the individual and regional chambers across the country trying to reach the priority groups that I spoke of earlier, those businesses owned by economically disadvantaged individuals, women and veterans, both in urban and rural America, maybe tribes. So that hub would be responsible for those funding relationships. And so that's how the situation works. The spokes themselves, the spokes are, if we're taking that example, let's say it's X chamber in Stockton, California. That maybe there's a cluster of Black-owned businesses and Latino and Latina businesses where they are specialized. Maybe they have that alumni portal that I was speaking of. So I'm just hypothetically speaking, right? This hub, the National Chamber of X, would partner in a consortium agreement. The spokes are not the grantee, but the hub would fund the spoke because they had a nuance, a specialty, a way to collect data. One of the things that we want to do is we want to, track those businesses that we reach, the navigators, to see if they matriculate into other SBA programs, because there's nothing that matters more than measurement in terms of did these folks, that they get funding, did they get access to networks, did they enroll in a program, did they get certified, and ultimately did they secure procurement dollars. So that's just hopefully that's an example that can resonate on how hub and spoke model works. And that's what we're looking for with this particular granting pilot opportunity.
Thank you, Mark. There was another question that came in relative to the SBDC networks. Here in California, there's 5 individual networks, right? We're essentially considered individual states. Can an individual network actually apply for the national tier of funding?
Yeah, so I'm going to point you all to, I'll make sure that I, even if I have to go to another meeting, that you have the grants.gov, and you can go to the notice of funding opportunity. I just want to make sure there's some, some the rails that we have to abide by. But if you go into this informational session on Friday, we're going to lay all that out for you. But you can, as long as you're following the specifications in our notice of funding opportunity that's on grants.gov, you go into the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. If you meet those qualifications for a tier 1, you can absolutely apply for a tier 1. But you'll have some population, delineations there that you need to follow. It's within a couple of pages. So I just submit for your consideration that you take a few minutes. And you know what I'm talking about here, right? Undistracted time. In other words, take your cell phone and leave it at the office, go take a walk, print out this notice of funding opportunity, and take that moment to really internalize it. And you'll have another opportunity on Friday to hear from us. The other thing that we're doing between now and then, we're hoping to have some FAQs, the frequently asked questions, cleared so that you can have some results from frequently asked questions that we've had in these information sessions prior that will be revealed on Friday as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I just a quick thank you, Mark? Amazing. Appreciate all the work that you're doing. Congratulations on how quickly you and Isabel hit the ground running for small businesses. Just on that note, if you were to give one piece of advice to a potential navigator and one piece of advice to a potential spoke, what would they be?
That's a great question. I think of my experiences. I mean, how did I end up here? Well, I know how I ended up here. Is because, I shut down a bank during the height of the Great Recession when I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I was one rung from being president of a bank, a childhood dream. And this is from a person whose parents are migrant farm workers and didn't grow up in an academic environment. And then my dreams were shot. And I literally had to realize back in 2009, what was I going to do with my life? And I ended up at the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. My ex-boss said, we don't care if you were, executive banker. If you want to work here, you're going to start at the very front, at the very bottom. So I was sharing a cube and selling small business memberships. I didn't look at my paychecks for about 3 years. But you know what? I was inspired, so inspired by these business owners. That some of them, and then I started asking questions. Why are you making that tie in rayon and not silk? Why are you a Latina chef and you're doing French pastries? Wow, this dry cleaners has been in operation for 60 years and you're still doing business the same way in terms of greeting your customers when they come in a certain way. And so those kind of stories got me connected to the ground, and I never have let go of that. Since 2009, I've been on a mission, whether it was managing the street or a boardroom. I never lost touch. So if that's you as a spoke, if you've translated when the restaurant revitalization fund came out and there was a Spanish speaking only restaurant and you brought that information, you translated it, then you are a spoke. You are a navigator. If you were rolling down and knocking on businesses' doors and saying, do you know what the difference is between an EIDL grant and an EIDL loan? With the EIDL grant, you don't have to pay it back if you qualify. Then you're a spoke. If you went down as a tax pro, just out of the goodness of your heart, and said, I want to help you out with submission or gathering of documents, then you could be a spoke and a navigator. So a navigator is pointing some force, some person to a service, a funding source, a network, an access point that will help them recover through the pandemic. And I hope that helps clarify. I know I'm talking to some folks on the ground because I know this group. And I know Administrator Guzman has presented here many times. So I would just submit for your consideration. This is a pilot. At the end of the day, our dream is that this is institutionalized. And whether you are a part of this granting process or not, the other thing that we want to do is make sure that we reveal and market bright spots. So we hope to see.
I have a question.
Cool. Yes.
Mark, thank you so much really for sharing and for being vulnerable with us and sharing your life story and history. My name is Jeja Loeb. You can tell I have an accent, originally from Ghana, a refugee in the United States, was able to be a banker and worked through my way up as a vice president for community development lending. And just like you, I personally left the bank to be able to help small businesses because I see so many of our immigrant and refugees and re-entry folks have been really, not pay attention to. Now, when I started my own CDFI and we're trying to get our CDFI certification, all that license, because we're such a new organization, we became like a small businesses that we were trying to help, struggling to make the ends meet, in the sense that because we're so small, there's a lot of opportunity like this pilot program. We may not even qualify to even apply, even though we really hit the ground running, helping refugees, immigrant, Black-owned, Hispanic-owned. I used to live in Costa Rica. I speak fluent Spanish, so I have that ability to speak English and Spanish and be able to help those customers. So I'm just saying that take this information on behalf of the small micro CDFI in the country that have been struggling to make sure that they have the resources as compared to the other larger CDFI. So I just want to put my name out there because you're going to be hearing from me a lot.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. We appreciate them. Thank you for your work on the ground. I will say that you are probably eligible to be a spoke. You just got to find that hub. that will go into that consortia relationship. I have to run, everybody. I'm so sorry that I have to go to another meeting, but it's an honor. Jay, keep doing what you're doing, Jay. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mark, so
Thank you,
much
Mark.
for joining us.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So I think at this point, I'll turn it over to Carolina, who's going to spend a little bit of time talking on some CAMEO business.
Thank you, Jesse. Well, what a great way to start our advocacy day. That was such a powerful presentation by Mark, and thank you everybody for your questions. I think it's definitely a great segue for what I want to tell you. Actually, Jay, your comments are perfect lead to that, but I first would like to welcome you officially from CAMEO today. It's so great to see you all, so excited to join us for our Advocacy Day. This is our third Advocacy Day, and the first one was such a great success in person in Sacramento, and even though 2020 didn't let us do it in person, this continues to build momentum to really continue providing this opportunity for all of us to network and advocate and educate about the needs of our ecosystem and the small businesses we served in Sacramento. And it's so good to hear about all the changes that are coming also at the federal level. We are really excited to have a great team in Washington. We already have a great team also here in California, and we are always looking to support all of you to continue bringing your needs and what you are seeing on the ground to key players. I would like to say today, and I love the way we started, because this past year has not been easy for anybody. As emotionally that Mark started his presentation with how COVID has affected his personal life, we all know that even if we don't have anybody affected by COVID, we've been impacted in other ways. And we became first line responders. We've been working with the small businesses, with organizations around the clock to really make sure they're able to support and to continue their business and kind of shift in. And last year was kind of especially interesting. When we had our Advocacy Day, we were not able to really do much, right? It was so much uncertainty about what was going to happen. We had a deficit coming up at the state level. We were really trying to figure out it was still a lot of like, how do we make it work? How could we really continue from CAMEO serving you and helping our members to really support the small businesses that were so impacted? This year, I think, is a little different, right? We all know instead of a deficit, we have a big surplus. We all have shifted the way we operate as well, and we've been able to continue supporting small businesses virtually. We know that we have organized ourselves in a way that we can continue learning about new programs, new products, and new offerings for our small businesses. And today is really a very hopeful and emotional moment, because we are really thinking that the majority of California is getting vaccinated. We are starting to see the opening on June 15th. We are expecting to kind of restart the economy, and there is so much going on now that we are definitely with an eye into how we can really just be better as we are coming back. So we are very, very happy today to have you all here. We are going to be shifting a little bit towards the state. There is so much activity at the state level. And but before we do that, we would like to share with all of you that CAMEO, as you were hearing, and I don't know if you had the same feeling. I just had it too, and I've been in several meetings about the Community Navigator, and I do feel like they are really describing what CAMEO has been doing for so many years. So CAMEO is just letting you all know we are officially interested in applying to be a Community Navigator. We would like to include our network in that. So if you are interested in being a spoke, or if you are have been approached, please do let us know. We're gonna have the opportunity to talk more about it this afternoon. And I think, Heidi, you have a poll right now. We would like to also kind of get a little bit of a feeling about who is already applying and if there is enough interest in our network to support the initiative. Right, Heidi? You have that poll up?
I think Melissa has the power.
Oh, I'm sorry, Melissa.
Little Zoom functionality is every time you log in, someone else new logs in.
Yeah, so if
somebody else
all...
gets I did have the power of the poll, but somebody else has it now. So
that's okay. So I see people answering. So if you would help us answering the poll, it'll be really helpful. Definitely, we want to support the building of an ecosystem. I think this is a great model to really kind of come together. So we would like to kind of have that feeling and really support the efforts at the same time that we are looking in our own application process. Okay, we have around 50% people voting, so please, let's give it a minute. Okay, I think this is stopping, so I don't know if maybe...
I'll do the do.
Yeah, you have to. We have to put some background music there.
Well, in that case, can I ask a quick question? If we want to participate with CAMEO, how does that work?
Well, we can go. We definitely will be able to talk more in detail this afternoon. So for those that are not going to any legislative meeting, I will be having my coffee with Carolina session, so we can definitely discuss that there, and we can go in details about that. We really want to kind of get an idea of how many people might be interested, and if that is something that makes sense for the network for CAMEO network to apply. Okay, so I don't see any more people voting, but and I think we can leave it up for a little bit, right, Heidi?
No, because I think we have a special sort of surprise guest next, don't we?
Like yeah. I'm just saying, just for a little bit there.
I don't think you have to. We have to do one or the other. I don't think we could do the poll and the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so maybe
we can close the poll.
Thank you. We can close the poll now, I think. And we appreciate that. We definitely have good. I'm excited to see that there is a little bit of interest in all of them. So definitely some of you are applying already to Tier 1 and some are you applying for Tier 2 and Tier 3. So that is definitely excited. So if you're interested, we can definitely talk later and about that and go more in detail on that. And I think... Okay, so Heidi, now we do have a special guest too. We want to, I'll just turn it over to Heidi for that presentation.
I'm going to let the presentation speak for itself.
Hello, I'm State Senator Ana Caballero. I represent the 12th Senate District, which includes the Salinas Valley, Merced and San Benito counties, and portions of Fresno, Madera, and Stanislaus counties. I'm sorry I can't join you today, but I would like to thank the CAMEO network for the invitation to say hello and to express my appreciation for the work that you do to support California's small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our communities, and it's critical they have the resources to succeed. That is why I authored SB 625, the California Investment and Innovation Program, which creates a grant program to support the work of the community development financial institutions that provide access to capital, technical assistance, and resources to our unserved and underserved small businesses throughout the state. I know you all understand how important this work is, and I would like to thank the CAMEO network for their support of SB 625. It's important we hear from you about the work you do to support our communities, and I wish you a very successful legislative day.
Thank you, Heidi. It was a really nice video from Senator Caballero, and I think you've seen a lot about how things have changed this year. We have so many bills working toward equitable recovery, and how much the bills that have passed out of House have had an overwhelming bipartisan support. So definitely now we'd like to shift a little bit and move more towards our state efforts. And we are so thrilled to have another amazing guest speaker today talking to us. You all knew now Administrator Guzman was with us at leading GO-Biz last year, and she spoke to us in our Advocacy Day as well. And it is so important for us to really count with the big support of GO-Biz to really support that. And we are very thrilled to see that they have picked such a forceful leader right now in Lynn Gray. So we're going to be hearing from her now. Lynn has been a CAMEO member before, so she knows the importance of our network, and it's so great to really talk to her about how the small businesses need the support of all of us, of such a great, a strong, healthy ecosystem of support for them to really navigate this pandemic. Lynn was formerly the CEO of Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, and she has extensive experience in dedication to small businesses. And as we were talking, as she was coming into this position, I actually realized how important for her is to really make sure that we are all working together and leveraging each other's strengths to support the small businesses. So we are very happy to see her taking the lead and just guiding all the small businesses in California right now. She has such an impressive resume right now. She has worked with Chamber Foundation since 2017, and she's a member of Black Women Organized for Political Action, as well as several other organizations really to focus on supporting diversity and helping entrepreneurs of color to find the resources they need. So Lynn, I just don't think you need more introduction. Everything that I said is just a little to really introduce you, but we are so happy to have you with us today. And we would love to just say hi to our network, introduce yourself, and maybe share some of your priorities. Lynn, with no further ado, I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. I am proud to be here. And so good morning to everyone and the entire CAMEO team for making this very important and informative event, right, to advocate on behalf of California's small businesses available. We all know that advocacy is the key to beginning any lasting change. And your vibrant and diverse network of partners is exactly who our small businesses need to be working on their behalf. So California, I hear a roar coming. Yes. And I say today we start to celebrate California's economic recovery that is around the corner. So as Carolina said, my name is Lynn Gray, and I am the director of the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, which is in the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development per government code. And CalOSBA serves as the principal advocate in the state on behalf of small businesses, representing their views and interests, disseminating information to them, and advising them on state programs and regulations. Our mission is really to help support economic growth and innovation in California by working to ensure that our small businesses and entrepreneurs have the resources that they need to start up, connect to capital, connect to markets, and really grow their businesses. We are focused keenly on creating an inclusive entrepreneurial and small business ecosystem, and we want to eliminate opportunity gaps across zip codes, race, and gender. We have 3 primary objectives aligned to achieve our mission. The first is to be a resource provider, providing easily accessible information, training, consulting, tools, and whether that's tools to start or whether that's tools to grow, we want to be a resource provider for those tools. Second, we want to be an advocate, as the name says, by serving as the voice of small business and entrepreneurship across the state. My office is in a position to advocate for the needs and priorities of small businesses. We convene experts to address barriers to markets, networks, and resources, and we partner with the private sector to create market solutions for problems that our small businesses face. And thirdly, we advance resilience. And this third missional objective is near and dear to my heart. Expanding business resilience and supporting disaster recovery is something that has been a part of my work in previous positions. I was a sub-tier contractor to FEMA during the H1N1 pandemic in 2009, and I remember the toll it took with over 60 million cases, and the measures then that President Obama put into place. And swift action and courage are required to protect our residents and small businesses. And I really think that we have seen that courage in our Governor Newsom, and we are frankly being rewarded now with the lowest positivity rates in the nation, having vaccinated over 22 million people in our state with the first dose, and more than 16 million with the second dose. I think we're on our way to immunity, and that we are poised and primed for recovery. But let's face it, COVID-19 is not the last threat that we will experience. So my office will continue to make resiliency a core priority. So prior to my appointment by the governor, I was Chief Executive Officer of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce and Chamber Foundation, as was said earlier. And I spent my time reorganizing that small nonprofit into a community-based enterprise with a budget just over $10 million. And I envisioned in that role, a free market without economic, social, or political barriers to the financial success of BIPOC entrepreneurs, and especially those from disinvested communities. And as a small business advocate in that role, I was keenly focused on policy and how policy and its effects really determine the ability of local entrepreneurs to achieve their objectives. And so I always want to celebrate gatherings like this, focused on policy, focused on advocacy, focused on giving voice to the voiceless. As Carolina said earlier, I was a member of the CAMEO network then in that role because I understood the value and the power of like-minded community-based organizations with boots on the ground, providing services to people who simply want to realize the California dream for themselves and their families. So as director of CalOSBA, I hold on to those experiences and those priorities. I hold them close. And I'm proud to report that my office has been instrumental in the $2.5 billion in economic recovery grants that are on their way to the smallest and hardest hit entrepreneurs in the state, earning less than $2.5 million in annual revenues. And those grants in the first 3 rounds have gone to overwhelmingly low to moderate income individuals, women, rural entrepreneurs, and ethnic groups. That would not have been possible without lots of loud voices telling this power structure that our rural entrepreneurs, our small entrepreneurs, they need help from the state because they were not getting it from other places. So we're still collecting data on the final rounds and awards are still being made, but the preliminary data on those final rounds is looking pretty much the same. Overwhelmingly low to moderate, minority owned, women owned, veteran owned, and various different ethnic groups and rural communities. So if that's not enough, we need you to continue to make a little bit of noise because the governor has requested another $1.5 billion to be added to the relief grant program. Yes. And if successful, and added to the $2.5 billion already there, it would bring this program to $4 billion, the largest in the nation of its kind. And if that's not enough relief, the governor's also given our small businesses $6.2 billion in tax relief. So the governor and the legislature are poised to do everything that they can to equip our small businesses with what we really need to get our economy back on track and pressing full steam ahead. So with the proposed budget, we are actively looking for the best way to support small business financing with the $895 million coming to the state small business credit initiative, which works to strengthen state programs that support financing of small businesses. And there are plenty of other things like that in the proposed budget. I won't bore you, but I will say this as I close. Each of us got up this morning with a purpose. And no matter what that purpose is, whether it was to take care of your children, take care of your aging parents, or fight a Goliath in your world, we all have the good fortune to do it right here in California, a state like no other state, the 5th largest economy in the world, with deep resources, determination, and the will to come back stronger together. So if we are not primed for recovery, which is your theme today, I don't know if we ever will be. So let's do this thing together and bring our economy roaring back. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarlene. That was inspiring. Definitely, that's the energy we have here in California. It's like, go California. Thank you so much. We would like to, if anybody has any questions that you'd like to make for Tarlene, I think we have you for a few more minutes. We'll be happy to. You can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Let me see. Anybody has any questions? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah,
Tara.
Yep.
I was gonna. Tara, thanks again for being here. Great to see you. What are you most encouraged about over the next 6 months from where you sit as the chief advocate for small business in California?
Well, Mark. Thank you for your question. As many of you can tell, I'm enthusiastic about life and opportunity. Frankly, I wake up that way every morning. I am enthusiastic about the California Rebuilding Fund. I am enthusiastic about the additional help that is coming for the Small Business Credit Initiative. I am enthusiastic about the will, the innovation, the creativity, and the power of small business here in California, frankly, in the United States. But I think that we have a little edge in California. Our numbers when it comes to initial public offerings, when it comes to competitions across the nation, California continues to lead the way. And so I'm enthusiastic about all of those things, and really feel that we are poised to bring this economy back stronger than it was pre-pandemic. It's been a rough road. No one can deny that, but the power of our ingenuity and the strength of our economy, we're going to see it.
Yeah, thank you. And Nancy?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, Rick. Give me 1 second, and Nancy will make her, and then we'll go with you, okay?
Okay, great, thanks. Welcome, Tara, and oh, how exciting for CAMEO. This is a bright moment where we shine in the place that we hold and the spirit that we bring to the discussions of the state. I'm really thrilled and honored always to be serving on the board. But Tara, I also want to thank you, and partly it's your predecessors, but it is your job now, for the level of data that the state has collected to understand the real issues. So we hear themes nationally about certain groups being targeted, excuse me, that is true, but certain groups being hit the hardest. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like in California, we dig really deep about that. So obviously, as chair of the California Women's Business Center Network, I look at that from the lens of women and the diversity of the problem and the diversity of the circumstances is so large. And I guess I want to say thank you to the state for giving data to bring that to light, and certainly want to understand from you where you see some of the opportunities are for women entrepreneurs moving forward.
Well, Nancy, always good to see you. And thank you for the complex question of the moment. Our economy and our problems with our economy are complex, and they are wide, and they are as diverse as our people. I was blessed to be representing a community-based organization in an underrepresented geographic region in the state of California. And the last 4 years in that role taught me a lot about underrepresentation and about how underrepresentation shows up in policy and in the allocation of resources. And so I bring that understanding to this role. And you're right, we are collecting a lot of data, and we are slicing that data in a lot of different ways to fully understand. You know, and in California, the economic issues for small businesses show up in a lot of places. One might think right offhand that housing is not directly related to small business, but when you consider that 50% of all small businesses are home-based businesses, guess what? Housing becomes an issue for small business owners. So I think that we have a lot of complexities, and I want to understand even greater those complexities. I am a woman. I understand the complexities of being a woman owned business, or having a woman owned business, and the threats in the marketplace and the difficulties and the barriers to overcome. As a woman of color, I understand those added layers of difficulty and the barriers. And so I am blessed to bring a lot of understanding to this, but I don't have all the answers. So it is incumbent for me and my team to work with the vast partner network that we have, of which you are a part, Nancy, and many others on this call, to listen and to learn and to further understand the intricacies of the populations that you represent, of the rural geographies that you represent, of the immigrant communities that are represented. I think that we saw with the pandemic, there's a lot we thought we knew and we learned, oh, it wasn't so. And we have seen devastation in many places, and many voices had to come to the table in order to bring about the resources and the relief that my office is now charged with helping to provide. So I hope that it answered some portion of your question there, but the short answer is really we need a network of folks like you working alongside us to bring the solutions that this California's small business community needs.
Thank you for going off script.
Thank you, Torres. So before I just turn it over to Rick, just please, when you ask a question, just share with the audience in return, Lynn, your name and the organization you're with. Rick, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry I didn't follow protocol.
It's okay.
My name is Rick Keys. I actually worked with Tara, and I have a question based upon the information we got from Mark Madrid regarding the Community Navigator pilot. I'm kind of getting the sense that that has not officially been launched yet. And I just want to know where we can position ourselves to raise our hand, make sure that we're noticed in that process, whether it be a hub or a spoke. What would be your recommendation?
So my office is currently, thank you for the question, Rick, and good to virtually see you, even if it is just a photo of you. And my office is currently looking at the Community Navigator Program and making a decision. And we hope to announce something shortly as to, our role and what we are hoping to do with our partner network in that program. We are excited to see it. We think that it is an incredible opportunity. It is an opportunity for voices who are not always at the table to come to the table. It's an opportunity for representation for groups that are underrepresented in our state. So it is a significant opportunity. I cannot give you specific guidance, on what you should do, but I can tell you that my office will be doing something relative to that program, and we expect to make an announcement shortly as to what that will be and whether or not there is opportunity in the network for that.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Brent?
Hi, thank you for your time and all the work the office is doing. We're really excited to be able to participate in some of the programming you guys have launched. My name is Brent Ema. I'm co-founder of OmniWorks based in Los Angeles. And, California's DNA is all about innovation and starting up. And we've heard a lot from people out there who've been grateful for the grant program, but it's mostly focused on existing businesses and resiliency for those who already exist. What are you doing in the way of really replacing some of those that we've lost with some of the next generation or people who are making career switches who want to start? And how are we empowering that activity to make California a great place to start your business from the idea in the inception stage?
Brent, that's a great question. And here's an opportunity for advocacy. Thank you. The governor has proposed $35 million in the Dream Fund in the upcoming budget. And that the purpose of that $35 million in the Dream Fund is to help start businesses in California. And the focus, one of the things that my office has suggested is, because I firmly believe, and I believe that you all, because you're a part of this network, believe this too, that technical assistance is essential for good start and maintenance and growth of small businesses across the state. And so what we are proposing is that individuals that participate in a technical assistance program are then eligible to receive up to a $10,000 grant to start their businesses here in the state. So, you know, you want to get that letter out, you want to let your legislature know that you're in support of that dream fund and that you'd like to see it in the upcoming budget. That I believe will be a significant help to small businesses across the state, because you're exactly right, Brent. We have to account for, and we need to fill the gap that 40% of people of color, I know it's about 40%, 41% for African Americans, about 40% for Latinx, and I want to say about 28% for Southeast Asian businesses that have been completely lost, gone from this economy. And we do need to provide that, fill that gap, because those people did not go and get jobs someplace, because we know that hiring, you know, in businesses across the state is not reflective of those populations. Those very same populations are the folks with the highest unemployment. So we know if they closed a business, they ain't gonna get a job. So we've got to fill that gap. And that's gonna be a part of bringing the state back, getting those folks who want to be entrepreneurs, that were entrepreneurs, back in the economy the way that they fit best.
Thank you, Charlene. And that's definitely in our priority list that Heidi has shared with the network. So we're definitely supporting it. And if you don't have that, I think Heidi will go over that a little bit later, or can send them so you can have it for your visits later this afternoon. But yes, thank you. We are definitely excited to see so much support for small businesses, especially the very small ones and all minorities and hard to reach entrepreneurs. So this is really good. I thought I saw you, Jay, with your hand up. Was that right? Did you have a question?
I always have questions, you know that. No, my question is actually a comment based on our experience that we have as a small CDFI, is that when you in California, when you're going through the process of getting all the certification and all the process like the lender's license, it seems like they tend to treat you like a regular financial institution in terms of the requirement. So I'm hoping that, I mean, we're able to get through that, but I'm hoping in the future there will be a distinction between a CDFI that's a nonprofit and a financial institution that actually is for profit in terms of getting the California lender's license. I think a lot of the time it kind of deter a lot of the smaller CDFI to pursue what the passion is, to be helping to help the smallest of the smallest small businesses in our community. That's just my comment. Maybe it could be an advocacy issue in the future. So.
Well, I will say this, Jay, to your comment. It wasn't a question, but I do have to underscore what I feel is the importance of CDFIs. Our small businesses oftentimes do not get the capital that they need, the credit lines, the growth capital. I mean, and it doesn't matter whether you're a manufacturer or whether or not you've got a small retail operation. Our small businesses are just not receiving the capital from the large commercial banks. So CDFIs fill a very, very critical hole there, or critical need in the marketplace. And so anything that we are able able to do to include you all in our network and support your growth and development, please do reach out, because as I said, CDFIs are critical to our small businesses, and especially those that are operating in rural areas, because there are no other opportunities really for our small businesses.
Okay.
Thank you, Tara.
I think Heidi has a follow-up for that question.
Yeah, Jay, we've heard that before, and that's with the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And they do have they're going to have even newer leadership, because the head of Manny Alvarez is stepping down. He's been there for the last 2 years, and he's stepping down. But they have definitely been open, and I think understand a little bit more about the network and how the role that CDFIs play. I think this also has been elevated in the current political discourse, just on a national level even. So thanks for that, Jay. And I just want to ask Tara, is there cross-departmental conversations with the people who, is that something that your office might engage in with us, or is that can we talk about this more with you and then maybe go to DFPI, or should we go directly to DFPI? What's your advice on kind of handling that?
My advice is invite me to the conversation. Cross-departmental, I've been known to step on a toe or two before in the past. And, I know how to say I'm sorry if I do that. So I say invite me to the conversation. Let me know. I am already looking at cross-departmental efforts, right now, and other things that we're doing on our resiliency, objectives. And so, again, I've said how important it is. You all know how important it is. If you've got ideas, bring me to the table.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good, just a follow on that. I mean, just occurred to me, I don't know if is there like a agency small business kind of roundtable that everybody gets to get, that the agencies all get together and chat? And I mean, because that sounds to me like a great place to bring some of these issues. But anyway, that was just,
there are lots of round tables. Okay. I'm learning. Not the jetty committee one, but I'm just talking more like with specific agency. Okay, there's some questions in chat, and I'll go back to.
There is a question from Michael Cohen saying, what can be done specifically in California to help personal service businesses like barbers and nail salons that were forced to close but were overlooked for restaurant revitalization funding and shutter venue funding?
Well, they are eligible for the Small Business Relief Grant. So, hopefully many of those folks applied. I don't know that we have developed a specific solution for them, and I'm open to hearing from you on that.
Okay, that's right. Mark?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking to raise my hand anyway. I'll just do it this way.
Oh, you want a second question, Mark?
No, there was a moment of silence. I decided to take my shot. One is, I think with the California Relief Grant Program, I did see, at least in the first round of data, I imagine it'll be the same, that barbers and salons were overrepresented in terms of grant recipients. So it is something that we've been recommending to a lot of those types of folks to know that they probably have a better shot. My barber got one, so he was ecstatic. So that was really great. Great feedback. And then my question is about TAPE. Is we think about advocacy, obviously incredible investment. We're coming up here on the last year or two. We want this to be permanent. It's an incredibly important source of funding for all of our partners throughout the state. What can we do? How can we support you as you administer that program in making sure that this source of funding continues into the future? And then to also put on the table, is there conversation about also inviting non-federally certified folks to also participate in those sources of funding? And how can we help more people get more funding to help small businesses?
That little word, Advocacy is coming back up. It would be a great time for you to communicate with your legislators. My office has recommended that there be a move relative to that network to include folks that have been excluded from the TAPE plan, who are or TAPE program, who are very capable providers, to be included in that. And there is legislation that is moving that program permanently into my office, and we would like very much so to see that be passed, although I can't officially advocate or take a position on anything. It would be very helpful and very advantageous to see that TAPE program be made permanent and to permanently reside in my office. You know, like so many others, technical assistance is in my heart. And we know for the smallest and the most vulnerable starting businesses, they do not have success without technical assistance, period. They go hand in hand. Milken's paper talks about it. The Tapestry report by AEO talks about it, well known. They have to go hand in hand, the capital and the technical assistance. So we need that program, and thank you, Mark.
Great, thank you. Edwin, do you have a question?
Well, it's not necessarily a question, I just want to thank for all the support, but also emphasizing the need on the continue supporting the ITIN holders, because that has been, California has been a very instrumental in supporting the ITIN holders. We do have a high number of immigrants who own their own businesses and creating jobs, and they are ITIN holders. So I really want to thank for your support, and just continue doing that for any new program that the state decide to implement.
Estoy de acuerdo, Señor Rodriguez.
Gracias.
Love it. Okay, thank you. I have complete agreement, and we are so excited to hear your points. I think Heidi's been putting in the chat a lot of things, but it's really great because we are aligned. I think this is I would just like to say this is a good moment for all of us to come together. It definitely takes a network to get support for the small businesses. And if one thing has come out of this pandemic and economic crisis is how we are stronger together, right? How we need to partner more and leverage each other's strengths to really get going and move forward the economy and supporting the small businesses. So I don't see any more questions, but I would like to ask you to close, Tara. How can we help you in general? Is there something that as NERWA we could continue supporting you and your priorities, or how could we be useful for you?
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, for those of you that are partnering with us, like you already are, continue to be our partner. Allow us to listen, allow us to learn, help us understand what's happening on the ground, give us the feedback, help us collect the data, help us be smarter and faster and better at what we are doing. We already have said we operate in the best state in the union, and it takes all of us operating together to continue to refine our economic engine and to make sure that everyone has opportunity, that we really do have a California for all. It is possible that when things are really good, that we forget that there are still people in our state that hide out because they are concerned about whether or not they will be discovered. It is possible to forget that there are still 40% of our children in this state that went to bed hungry last night and got up hungry this morning. So for all of our strength and all of our power, we cannot forget the least among us. And so I say to everyone on the call that we not forget that.
Oh, sorry, Tara, you, okay. There we go.
That there are people around us that don't have it as well as we do. And as advocates, we owe it to them and to ourselves to do all we can to make sure that that isn't so.
Yeah, well, definitely inspiring words. Yeah, all with you. Go. All with you. Well, thank you so much, Tara, for joining us today. I think we are definitely fortunate to have you as our leader to advocate for small businesses. Thank you everybody for kind of really just the questions and just bringing to all of us and Tara's attention what is so important for us to continue advocating for. And I think with that, I'll just turn it over to Heidi. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Tara. That was, I mean, between Tara, your enthusiasm, and Mark's personal vulnerability, like Jay mentioned, and the telling of his story. And I mean, I am deeply moved this morning. So this is why we have this day. So really, really, really exciting.